All right, going into the next section for matrices part 3, we're now going to explore multiplying our matrices. All right, and so scalar multiplication was very easy, but matrix multiplication is a lot more challenging. It just has a lot of steps, which is why I am not going to require you to do it by hand. You need to find a calculator, and if you open up this Word document, you can actually click the hyperlink there, that blue word calculator, and it's underlined. That's a hyperlink. You can click on that. It'll bring you to Desmos's matrix calculator, and it's a pretty easy program to use, and I'll show you how to use it in a second. If you want to know what the steps are behind multiplying matrices, you can always go to the internet and find some GIFs that'll show you the steps. Again, I never learned it when I was in high school, so I'm not really going to expect you guys to learn it in high school either. And so I just want to make sure that you guys have a calculator. If the calculator that I give you is not helpful, you can always Google search matrix calculator, and it'll bring you to a whole page of websites that you can pick and choose from. I just figured most of you guys have Desmos, and so you might be used to that program already. So the thing you have to know with this is that our matrix multiplication can multiply matrices with different dimensions. So notice how in our first one we have a 2 by 3 matrix, and then the other matrix is a 3 by 2 matrix, and we result in a 2 by 2 matrix. All right, so I have this sentence on here which tells you exactly what you have to do in order to get all of it, but I figured it would be nice if you could just visually see what's really happening here. So here is our A and B matrix, or matrices. I've just sort of separated it. It's the same exact problem we had as before. I'm just separating it so you can see a little bit better. So basically, as I said before, we have a 2 by 3 with our first one and a 3 by 2 in the next one. And when we multiplied it, we ended up with a 2 by 2. All right, so all you need to know to figure out, is it possible to multiply these matrices, which is what this whole sentence up here is all talking about, is that if these two numbers, okay, in the middle are equivalent, all right, then it is possible, if they're the same, then it is possible to multiply. Or you could say this matrix is defined, or again, possible to multiply. All right, so that is the first thing you have to determine. Is it possible to actually multiply it? Once you're done with that, you can easily figure out what answer you're going to get. Not the actual values of the matrix, but you can figure out the size of your resulting matrix. So what we do is we take the other two numbers of our dimensions, our 2 here, all right, these two, this is the resulting size, or the resulting size of the multiplied matrix, which gives us a 2 by 2, because we're both 2's. All right, so that's the whole process. So when you're going and doing your homework, the first thing you have to do is just to figure out what is it possible, I should say, is this matrix defined or undefined? And then if it is defined, what is the resulting matrix? And then once you're done with that, you can go into the calculator and you can get your answer. So here's example 1. It says find the product of the following. If the product is not defined, state the reason. All right, so we're going to first try and take our matrices and we're going to multiply them together, A times B. All right, so the first thing we need to do that is we need to determine that A is a 2 by 4 matrix and B is a 3 by 2 matrix. So if I were to do A times B, it'd be 2 by 4 times 3 by 2. And I can take a look at those two numbers on the inside. All right, and they are not the same value, and so because they're not the same, this is undefined. All right, so it's not possible to multiply these and get a result. All right, so let's flip it. Let's say instead of multiplying A times B, let's multiply B times A. Well, then now it's a 3 by 2 matrix times a 2 by 4 matrix. So now I take my two values on the inside, 2 and 2. They are equal to each other, so I know that this is a defined matrix, and it's going to result in a 3 by 4 matrix. Okay, so before I move on to the next step, I can already tell that we have this property where A times B does not equal B times A, which is different than what we have done previously. If you remember, in multiplication, we're able to move things around and get the right answer. So it is interesting that in the matrix world, if you will, that we do not have the ability to rearrange things and have the commutative property of multiplication as we had before. So now that I have all of this, I'm going to go ahead and actually find my answer by going to my calculator. So here is our calculator that I have linked to the homework, or linked to the notes, I should say. And I've already entered in our first matrix, and I just want to show you the process so that you're not super confused when this happens. But I'm going to go to New Matrix, and it gives me the dimensions, if you will. And so I need to enter in a 3 by 2 matrix. So I'm going to add, and it automatically labels it A and B, or A first and then B second. So I'm going to enter in these values. I have 2, -1, 0, 3, 1, and 0. Okay, so I have this, and I'm just going to press enter after I'm done with my matrix. And I don't have any other matrices to add, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply, and this time it has to be B times A. And it gives me my answer. All right, so this matrix off to the side is our answer, and we can easily see that this is a 3 by 4 matrix. So we know that we did this correctly. All right, so here I am back at my notes. I'm going to go ahead and start writing these down. I had that 2, -6, 0, and I'm just going to copy all this down and make sure that you have your brackets, and then finally box in your answer. So when you're doing this on the homework, please make sure that you are showing each piece. You're showing what are the dimensions, is it possible, if so, what is the resulting matrix side, and then finally give me the answer after going to the calculator. All right, so here are our final 4 examples just to solidify everything we've done. And I'm not going to show the calculator steps because I feel like that's pretty mundane for you guys. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly so that you guys can compare your answers, hopefully. So the first thing is on the top left-hand corner, we have that 3 by 2 and a 2 by 2. The 2's are the same, so therefore our resulting matrix will be a 3 by 2. Your answer should end up being 36, 44, 36, and then in the next column, 22, 26, and 22. Make sure you have brackets, and then that is your answer. So then the next one is a 2 by 4 by a 2 by 3. We have 4 and 2, which are not equal to each other, and so therefore this is an undefined matrix. All right. The third one, which is the bottom left-hand corner, is a 3 by 2 and a 2 by 4. The 2's are equal, so we'll result with a 3 by 4. And our answer will be as follows. Please make sure you're including brackets in your answers. Please make sure you have brackets. They're super important. And then once you have brackets, make sure you box in your answer. All right, and then that final one is pretty small and pretty simple. It's a 2 by 3 and a 3 by 1. The 3's are equal, so we should have a 2 by 1 as our answer, and it should be 19 and 33.